Okay, Jaybe, get it together. Squibbies, I'm talking love. A little lady T. Welcome to the Sabby and Jaybe show. I am your host, James Fauntleroy, one of your hosts on RBN. Welcome to everybody on this beautiful Thursday evening. Hello to my other co-host, Sabby Sabs. Good to see you.
What's going on, JB? It's good to be back.
Yo, look, you are back. Look, don't call it a comeback. She's been here for years. Good to see you. I know you had your birthday. Happy birthday. And you also had your vacation as well last week.
Yeah, it was fun, JB. It's sometimes you just gotta get it, it's good to just take a break and get out and get out, hang out with people and see people and stuff. So yeah, I went to New York and it was a great time. I hung out with I'm surprised all those people were able to come out to the same night. But I hung out with Case Study QB, Danny Haifong was there, Roger Meadows, Jose Vega came by, Indy Left from Indy Left News came by, Katie Halper came by. I hope I'm getting everyone. But yeah, it was kind of cool to get like everybody together and stuff. It was fun.
Sounds like you had a smattering. I always want to use that word. You had a smattering of different people from indie media that were there. It was just so cool. I was just like, man, I wish I could have went. That was awesome. All right. So just to let you guys know, the Sabby and Jaybe show is every single Thursday at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. If you guys have not already, you guys can also go to our Substack at revolutionaryblackout.substack.com so you guys get email notifications of wherever we go live or upload clips. So you guys have that there. Also, if you guys have not already, you guys can also send any email inquiries to info@revblacknetwork.com, as well as you can also go to our website at revolutionaryblackoutnetwork.com as well if you guys would like to check out what we're doing on the ground as well. So with that being said, I just want to give a shout out to our graphics designer. She does great work. So if you guys would like to donate for that, then you guys can go to Venmo at Revolutionary Blackout, Cash App, $ Mutual Aid Forever. Thank you so very much for that. Also, in addition to and furthermore, I'm going to try to go to the chat because we got some people that we want to talk to. So we're going to get into that as well. So
they like your haircut, JB.
Oh,
people are shouting out your haircut.
All right, we have Mastermind now. I'm sorry, what?
People are shouting out your haircut.
Nice.
In the chat.
I'm gonna get to it. We'll take a look. I'm trying to be humble. Don't give me a big head. Mastermind Hour coming in saying hello, everybody's good to see you. Zombie in the Air coming in saying hi to Mastermind. Good to see the solidarity here. Bryce Smith coming in saying good afternoon, Sabby and JB. Nice to have you here as well. Just Me says good afternoon. Free Palestine. Absolutely. Thank you so very much. Retro Gamer coming in saying hello. Wadi coming in saying, hey, everybody. All right. Everybody in account for. Roger Meadows said, oh, Lucy.
Yes. Lucy also was there. Sorry.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, and then whoever this is on Twitch, please do not advertise stuff on our channel, please. I really appreciate it. That's very unprofessional of you, and I would really appreciate if you don't do that again. If not, then I'm going to have to go into Twitch and have you blocked. So don't do it again. Next person we have here is Randy. Says good evening, Sabby and Revolutionary Comrades. All right, we got Rome in the chat saying, hey y'all, I want to join but I had to get back to the library. Oh,
Rome.
Well, I mean, you're always invited, so it's always good to have you. All right, we have Ghost Nest coming in saying, "Hey, nice, thank you so much,
Whoop,
thank you
whoop,
very
whoop, whoop. JB got the tape up and the
thank you." Ah,
JB in play, like kid in play.
oh Lord,
Ain't
I
gonna hurt
love our audience,
nobody
man. They
if
are
it's dancing,
hilarious.
y'all. Ain't gonna hurt nobody. Oh man, no.
Oh, yeah. I had to get some deforestation done, I had to. Oh my goodness. All right. Croaky says, "Oh yeah, the watermelon's good to see you." Tiberius Monk says, "Sabby." All right. And then we have it's Messera. It's a Messera. It's a me, Sarah P. Okay. Okay. Good to see you. All right. Fred Edward coming in here. All right. Thank you so much. Says, "Hey comrades. Cross posted Twitter X Facebook. Mine's me we. Oh, thank you so very much. Appreciate it. All right. And then I think we have a super chat.
I can't unsee it now. Rome said, "Looking like
no!
Umar."
Jeez, Louise, man. Oh my God. Next thing you know, I'm looking all serious. No snow bunnies. No snow bunnies up in here.
Oh no.
All right, let's get into super chat. Oh Lord. Okay. And then we have I can't with y'all. Tiberius Monk said, "Showing some love to Sabby and JB this evening. Also, JB, you looking slim, good sir. Like the hairdo. Cue up House Party 1 and 2. Let's go."
I love the house party movies. You look great, JB.
Thank you so much.
You really do.
One thing I do have to, I have a confession to make. I have not actually sat and watched the house party movies. I'm sorry. I know. Okay, look. Where's my wallet so I can give you my black card? I'm sorry. Sabs, I'm sorry.
Well, do you know how to do the kid and play dance?
I do. That's
All
the
right.
crazy part. I know. Look, when you and me finally meet, we're doing the kid and play.
That's right. Ain't gonna hurt nobody.
Now, the party scene where Tisha Campbell and that other lady where they're dancing, boy, they were cutting the rug.
Yep.
Oh my gosh. I wish I can cut the rug like that. So, while we're at it, I'm going to make sure I get this in as early as possible. I also want to give a shout out to the patrons on Patreon. For without you guys, we would not be able to do the work that we do without you guys. So if you guys would like to, you guys can go to Revolutionary Blackout Network on Patreon as well. And just to share as well, all the patrons on Patreon, because you guys make it possible. I just want to really. Sorry.
Oh no, email.
Yeah, I know. It won't open. I had it up. Oh wait, I think I know where I have it. Sorry. I have it here. Video file. Oh, that's right. JB got it. Don't worry about me. All right.
Ain't gonna hurt nobody.
So, thank you so much to all the patrons on Patreon. Without you guys, we would not be able to do this. You guys make this channel possible. You guys also make it possible so that we can get out on the ground and actually do work for our communities. So I just want to give a big shout out to all of you who have continuously supported us throughout all this time, especially since the beginning. Those of you who've been with us, even when we were Fred Hampton Leftists, thank you so much for all of it, because guess what? We're actually trying to do stuff on the ground, not just talk the talk, but also walk the walk. So you guys are amazing, and just want to give a huge shout out and thank you to every single one of you as well, because without you guys, there is no RBN. So thank you so very much for that as well. Now, what are we talking about today? I want to get into this because this is going to be a very interesting and good subject. We're talking about why we have solidarity. Who's that on the left? That is one of the founders of the Black Panther Party, Huey P. Newton, with Palestinians. And then the second photo is a mural of George Floyd in Palestine and saying Black Lives Matter. Sabs, let me ask you this question. When Black people here in the West, and I notice that it's typically people here in the West that say, that problem has been going on for hundreds of years. That is not our problem. That's way on the other side of the world. That's not even our business.
Yeah.
What do you say to Black people that say that? Because it's one thing for other people, non-Black people, to say it, but for Black people to say it, why do we express our solidarity? Why do we need to have solidarity with the Palestinian people?
Yeah, I mean, it's an oppressed group of people, right? I mean, and Black people are oppressed. We had more oppression, in the past, but we still have oppression today. But it's another oppressed group of people by another group that's in power, but also because a lot of our Black revolutionary leaders also had solidarity with the Palestinian people. You had the picture of Huey P. Newton. The Black Panthers had solidarity with the Palestinian people. So did Malcolm X. So did Nelson Mandela. So did Kwame Ture. So did Angela Davis. And it's a part of our history in reference to when we talk about like Black radicals and Black revolutionaries that we've had in this country. Those people weren't just a part of like a national movement. That was an international movement. There were Black Panther chapters in places like South Korea. So I think a lot of people may not realize that was an international movement.
Yeah. So, I mean, and also it means a lot to us because of the money that goes to Israel is our money, right? And so with that being said, I mean, why in the world wouldn't we have solidarity with an oppressed group, especially when the IDF literally trains the police force that we have here, and that same police force that gets trained by the IDF are the ones that are persecuting us here at home. And you can say, well, that's not as big of a deal until you realize, like for instance, the young man that was killed by police that is neurodivergent. That's a young Black man. He was only 15. And so these are the same people that are trained by the IDF.
Yep.
And so when you see the same tactics used against Palestinians as used against us, well, I say we're both victims of the same system. We're both victims of the same group, essentially.
We can talk about the water issue too. You brought up the policing issue. There's also the issue with just having clean water, right? So, one of the issues in Gaza is that 95% of the water is dirty. You also see that throughout the United States in some of these Black communities, particularly those in some of the rural parts of America, too. These little small communities that you may not have heard of, Denmark, South Carolina. I mean, everybody knows about Flint, Michigan, because it made national news.
Mm-hmm.
But there's also Denmark, South Carolina. There's also Jackson, Mississippi. Like that, that affects indigenous communities as well too. How they will run these pipelines through those neighborhoods in particular, and just basically like just poison the people, right? So that also involves resources. You can bring up policing, you can bring up access to quality resources, those types of things as well. But also the fact that our government is basically backing the oppressor.
Mm-hmm.
They're backing Israel. Israel is the one that has all the power. They control everything. And we've seen this time and time again. The US government is backing Nazis in Ukraine.
Mm-hmm.
They continue to back white supremacy. And that's both parties. That's the Democratic Party and the Republican Party.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And so when people talk about what's going on there, I mean, there's so much overlap that we have. There's no choice but for us to see ourselves within them, to see what's going, to see a parallel between how we're treated here and how they're treated there. And it's crazy because a lot of times people will look at what's going on there and it's like they just don't want to see the parallel. And I remember responding to a gentleman on TikTok because he was basically saying we don't need to worry about them. He was a Black man in Chicago. And he kept saying white Palestinians. Why does he keep on saying white Palestinians? Why keep on saying white Arabs? Right? And number one, there are Black Palestinians.
Yep.
And some of them actually became Muslim and traveled to Palestine and lived there, right? And so there are Black Palestinians out there too. So it's not just white Palestinians. By the way, most Palestinians aren't even white. It's like that's like calling all Latinos white. Are they?
Right. Right.
It's like what? So, I think it's important that we look at the Palestinian people as, look, this is another oppressed group just like us. So I want to share this as well because this is actually an article that it talks about the Black Panther Party and their solidarity with Palestinians. Let's take a look. So here is from the Hampton Institute, right? It says Black Panther Party on Palestine. So it says the leader of the Black Panther Party, Huey P. Newton, once wrote, Israel was created by Western imperialism and is maintained by Western firepower. He likewise said that America must die so that the world can live. Neither Zionism nor Americanism would escape the wrath of these anti-colonialist, anti-racist, anti-imperialist Black Panthers, an organization founded in 1966 as the Black Panther Party for Self-Defense in Oakland, California. The part that I want to focus on, where he says Israel was created by Western imperialism and maintained by Western firepower. Now, what Huey P. Newton basically said is accurate because Zionism actually started as a fringe movement back then. It was, I think it was Balfour, under the Balfour Declaration.
Mm-hmm.
And who financially facilitated it? Well, it was the Rothschilds, right? So it was it, and on top of it, the Zionist movement started out, and in my opinion, and many other Jewish people's opinion, it started out as an anti-Semitic movement because the Europeans did not want Jews among them.
Right.
The Europeans were anti-Semites, and they did not want Jewish people to stay among them.
Right.
So they said, kick them out and let them go to an area where other people are already living and let them take over that land. So ultimately, right, I think it was Theodor Herzl who is the father of Zionism. I'm actually surprising myself. I remember all this. But he himself was an atheist, if I'm correct.
Yep.
So therefore, his Jewishness was only in ethnicity, right? It wasn't in religious terms. So with that being said, I mean, ultimately, what Huey P. Newton said was correct because it was Western imperialism to put it there. In the United States, the only reason why the United States actually supports Israel is because Israel is basically the attack dog in the Middle East for the United States, for the West.
Right. And the resources as well.
Yes. The resources like liquefied natural gas, oil off the coast of Gaza, for instance, wanting to build the Ben Gurion Canal to compete with the Suez Canal. These are some of the things that a lot of people aren't talking about. And I want you guys to realize this. Number one, don't stop talking about Palestine. But why is this happening? Is it just they want the land so that they can settle? No. It is also because of the resources that are underneath the Palestinians' feet.
And basically, I feel like, because again, like you brought up, like Theodor Herzl was not religious at all. So Zionism just basically operates under the cloak of Judaism.
Yeah.
You know?
It's a perversion, really. It's just like, a perversion of some people who would, it's just like what ISIS is, right? ISIS is a perversion. They pervert the religion of Islam and say they're doing it under, Islam, but in reality, Muslims reject ISIS. In fact, ISIS hates Hamas. Crazy, right? They do not like them. Why? Because Hamas is Palestinian resistance. ISIS is actual terrorists.
But ISIS was basically created by the United States government.
Mm-hmm.
That's the other thing too, because when the United States government took out Saddam Hussein, that actually is what opened the door for ISIS to begin in the first place. Whereas when Saddam Hussein was still the leader, he was able to keep those kind of groups in check. So again, this all goes back to the U.S. government intervening in other countries and overthrowing their leaders.
Yep. So let's get back to this as well. He said, relatedly, in 1967, when the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee, SNCC, began to transform itself from a liberal civil rights organization to a radical Black nationalist organization that would rename itself the Student National Coordinating Committee, it also took a bold position in support of Palestine. The next SNCC statement was co-drafted by Stokely Carmichael, who would go on to make history as a revolutionary icon of Black power and Pan-African movements for liberation. But SNCC paid for this position dearly. Its economic patronage by white liberalism in general and white Jewish liberalism in particular came to a screeching halt. Historically, like all Black people who refused to support Jewish Euro imperialism, it would be represented as a band of ungrateful savages, anti-Semitic and racist in reverse, in other words, insofar as it would refuse to put white and Jewish interests before its own Black nationalist and internationalist interests in North America and the world at large.
And John Lewis, by the way, for people who are not aware, John Lewis was a part of SNCC.
Mm-hmm. So says here, condemning Zionist imperialism and white colonial liberalism led to no crisis for the Black Panther Party. It was revolutionary rather than a reformist organization from its inception. The party issued at least 3 official statements on Palestine in the Middle East in 1970, 1974, and 1980, besides anonymous Black Panther articles promoting Palestinian liberation, as well as assorted PLO articles in the Black Panther Intercommunal News Service, a periodical with a global circulation of 700,000 copies weekly from its run from April 25th, 1967 to September 1980. So it says the first Black Panther Party statement in 1970 by proclaimed. This is what they say, quote, "We support the Palestinian struggle for liberation 100%. We will go on doing this, and we would like for all of the progressive people of the world to join in our ranks in order to make a world in which all people can live." Says the Panthers, end quote. The Panthers made a point to mention that they were in daily contact with the PLO. The PLO is the Palestinian Liberation Organization. Provocatively, via an office that they had open in Algiers as an international section of the party. This statement was made as a press conference in 1970 and republished in 1972 as part of "To Die for the People: The Writings of Huey P. Newton." So I'm going to share this with you guys, but it's important to realize that the Black Panthers had solidarity, right? Because they saw within the Palestinians, they saw themselves. It's no different from us. We see the Palestinians within ourselves as well. So share that with you guys into the chat. And so I also want to share as well sorry, I saw something I wasn't supposed to see. So I also want to share, yeah, I know, Sabs. I got problems. Let me see. So I want to share this as well. Now, this is from Nelson Mandela. For anybody who knows about Nelson Mandela is the first Black president of South Africa, and as well as he fought fiercely against apartheid, so much so that he was actually put in prison for 30 years for fighting against apartheid in South Africa. Nelson Mandela was also considered a terrorist. I think it was until 2008. I think he was on the terrorist watch list.
Mm-hmm.
So when people throw around the word terrorist, right, you got to be mindful about what do they mean and who they're talking about and in regards to in the history behind it. Because how many people would consider somebody like Nelson Mandela to still be a terrorist today?
Some people considered MLK to be the same way.
Yeah, of course.
People have to remember the civil rights movement at that point in time wasn't popular.
It was not. So this is Nelson Mandela back in the 1990s speaking. I just want to share this because this is going to be interesting. And this is why I'm going to tell you right now, before I start this is why these town halls are no longer, they're vetted so that people will keep up and support the State Department narrative. They did not vet the people in the crowd. And thankfully, because we got the results in the crowd, how many people typically in the country actually feel. So let's go.
Those of us who share your struggle for human rights and against apartheid have been somewhat disappointed by the models of human rights that you have held up since being released in jail. You've met over the last 6 months 3 times with Yasser Arafat. Are these your models of leaders of human rights? And if so, would you want a Gaddafi or an Arafat or a Castro to be a future president of South Africa?
Now, before we let him finish, he said Gaddafi, Castro, or Arafat.
Yep.
What is the similarity between those three men? Sabs, please.
Well, Castro, like some people consider him to be a revolutionary,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, these are people that were trying to fight for the people. I mean, some people have bad opinions of Castro. You talk to some people that are from Cuba, they have a different opinion of him. But the thing is that these were people that were known to be a little bit more revolutionary.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Gaddafi, what did he do for his people? Castro, what did he do for his people? Arafat, what did he do for his people? Now, I want you guys to listen very closely to what Nelson Mandela says.
One of the mistakes which some political analysts make is to think that their enemies should be our enemies.
There you go.
Any wonder why they vet people who are going to be in the crowd when they do town halls now?
Yep.
Because they don't want it to be, for instance, remember that one time where it was a debate between Hillary Clinton and Bernie Sanders, and Bernie Sanders made some statement and the crowd was roaring for Bernie. And you saw the face on Hillary Clinton.
Yep.
Right? Remember that? Because that influences people who are watching at home.
Yes.
And so, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, it's true. I mean, the thing is like a number of our politicians right now actually will praise Nelson Mandela, right? But they'll say, you know, we appreciate Nelson Mandela's fight and struggle, but they'll leave out things that Nelson Mandela said or what he did. That's very important. So that statement there from Nelson Mandela, how is that any different from what Putin is saying in reference to aligning with countries as a part of BRICS? How is that any different?
I mean, that's a really good point. And it's basically like, well, just because you don't like them, what does that got to do with me?
Right.
You know, it's like somebody go, well, don't talk to them. And it's like, well, why shouldn't I talk to them? Well, because we don't like them. And it's like, well, just because you have a bad experience with them doesn't mean we're going to have a bad experience with them. I mean, what did you say? What did you do?
Right.
Yeah.
And the audience, notice how many people applauded, right?
Ooh.
But you have politicians today actually, you know, being very, being very nasty towards China and Russia for saying the same thing.
Right.
But those same people will praise Nelson Mandela, but they'll leave this part out.
Yeah. And the crazy part is, it's like, for what reason, what real valid reason do you have for actually wanting somebody like Nelson Mandela to be against them? And when you look at the history of what happened to Palestine, especially since it started out as an anti-Semitic movement in order to push Jewish people to a land that's already occupied, right? Already occupied. And then guess what? When the people who are already there resist being occupied, then you get mad at them resisting occupation.
Right.
And so then you expect us to be on your side when, like Nelson Mandela, he was resisting occupation.
Yes, he was. And remember how long Nelson Mandela was in prison? What, 27 years? And
Almost
those same
30,
politicians, like Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, they'll all acknowledge Nelson Mandela and his fight and what he went through, but they'll leave this piece out. But then they will call out the apartheid in South Africa, but they won't call out the apartheid in Israel. And that's because they're tied to the Israeli lobby. You see, there was no benefit. This is the thing I think people have to understand. They're not going to be ridiculed or primary challenged or threatened for calling out the apartheid in South Africa. But they will be for calling it out in reference to Israel, because the Israeli lobby is that powerful.
Yep. Absolutely. In fact, so powerful so that a lot of us are going to be talking about over, the next few days and the weekend, that they're literally leading to the destruction of TikTok in the United States.
Yeah. But I want to show people, I have this picture of Mandela Square because I just want to show people just how much Nelson Mandela meant to the Palestinian people. If people have not seen this, because like I said, all these people that like to shout out Nelson Mandela, I just want to show you that Nelson Mandela had solidarity with the Palestinian people. So this is Mandela Square, right? So remember this when you wonder why South Africa submitted the case to the ICJ. They know what it looked. They know this. They know what oppression is. They know what apartheid is. They've been through this. But this is Mandela Square, and this is in Ramallah, right? So it says here, South African leader Nelson Mandela, which is a replica of a statue in the South African city, stands in the center of the square and symbolizes the universality of the Palestinian cause and the solidarity of the South African people with the Palestinian people. Mandela's legacy and struggle against apartheid resonates with with Palestine and efforts to resist the occupation. Preserved on the site are the famous words of Mandela: "We know too well that our freedom is incomplete without the freedom of the Palestinians." So people have to understand this when people say that's not our fight. Let's just focus on the issues that affect Black people in this country. You have to understand, if Gaza falls, we all fall. If the Palestinian people fall, we all fall. Nelson Mandela knew that. Kwame Ture knew that, right? So they understood. Because the reality is this, ladies and gentlemen, if Israel can do this to the Palestinian people, then there's no stopping them from doing this to anyone else.
Mm-hmm.
That's how dangerous this has become. That's what people have to really grasp. So it's true. If Gaza fall, we all fall. We were talking about this recently at the meeting about the unemployment rate in Gaza. When you look at the unemployment rate in Gaza compared to the unemployment rate for Israelis, it's off the charts for the Palestinian people. The unemployment rate is off the charts. It is not uncommon for oppressed people to suffer high rates of unemployment. It's also not uncommon for oppressed people to suffer from high rates of underemployment. So this also leads back to the workers' movement. So when people say we need to have a working class movement or a class movement for working class people, you also have to uplift those that are oppressed. You cannot just come out there and focus on class, because if you just focus on class, the people who are oppressed will still be oppressed. The Palestinian people will still be at the bottom. This is why you cannot separate the two. People really got to understand this. So when people tell you, don't focus on anything else because that's identity politics, just focus on class. First of all, class is an identity. So I don't know where people are getting these talking points from, but you have to understand you cannot separate race and class. They go hand in hand. So there's a difference between talking about universal polities and giving some type of equality and equity. So you cannot uplift working class people without uplifting the people who are at the bottom, the people who are oppressed. That is very important for people to understand. Very important.
Yep, absolutely. And this is why it is imperative for us to, look at what they're going through and then also see, because ultimately, why are the Palestinians going through what they're going through? It's because of who they are, their identity. That's why they're going through what they're going through. And people, some people will say, well, ultimately, look, if you can get that and stand with the Palestinians, you can also stand behind Black people in our fight for liberation as well.
And that's another point. And I brought this up the other night when I was talking about the Candace Owens story. It's really interesting to me the number of people that are aware and will call out the oppression that the Palestinian people are experiencing.
Mm-hmm.
But those same people, not all of them, but some of those same people, when you change the subject, you change the group of people to Black people in this country, all of a sudden that's identity politics. All of a sudden that's race baiting. So what you have to understand, people, is that this whole identity politics thing, that only seems to come out when people are talking about Black people. And also when they're talking about LGBTQ people, all of a sudden it's identity politics. Why is it not identity politics when you're talking about the oppression of the Palestinian people? So I want people to fully understand what's happening here. It is really easy to call out the oppression of the Palestinian people because the world's seeing it, right? It's on the world stage. It's easier to do that. Also, let's keep it real. For some people, their audience, right, is going to accept that information. For some of those people, their audience is not going to accept or receive the information that you tell them about Black people being oppressed in this country. So then that brings up this question. Is it really about identity politics, or is it about catering to your audience and making money? We got to wake up, people. We got to wake up. It drives me crazy that some of these people, even some of them who have been to Gaza, they can call out the oppression and say they have dirty water, they have this, and these things are true. And Jaybe and I have called these things out. These things are 100% true. But when you tell them about what's happening in Flint or Denmark, South Carolina, or Jackson, Mississippi, when you tell them that Black people, although we're 13% of the population, but we're 40% of the homeless population, oh, no, it's identity politics.
Sabs, I want you
to know what's happening.
I'm gonna share this because I'm gonna ask you, what does this sound like? Okay, so here's this article here. This is from 972 Mag. It says, in the Jewish state, most prisoners are Arabs. Figures obtained by local call revealed that the number of Arab prisoners is more likely than twice the number of Jewish ones, even though they make up only, what? 20% of the general population.
See?
So, with that being said, it says proportion of Arab inmates among Israeli citizens stands at 43%, more than double their proportion of the general population. That basically means almost 50% of the population, but they're only 20% of the population of Israel. What does that? What does that sound like? 50% of the prisoners, but only a small part of the population. What does that sound like?
Same problem you have with Black Americans in the United States.
And the truth shall set you free.
13% of the national population.
Mm-hmm.
But how much percentage of the prison population?
And how much percentage of the homeless population?
Like 40%.
Yeah.
This is crazy. This is why. So you see the similarities, people.
Mm-hmm. So I'm gonna read my tweet that I put out, because I think this is important. I said, some of y'all will see how Palestinians need liberation and express solidarity with them, as you should. But scoff at Black people when we express our need for liberation and reparations. This shows that your solidarity with Palestinians is just a trend because it's popular for now and will make you money or seem more moral. You don't stand with other oppressed people. Palestinians do need liberation, as well as Black people and all oppressed groups. You should stand with the oppressed people, not because it's trendy, but because it's the right thing to do. And the thing is that a lot of times you will see what Palestinians go through. And the crazy part is you'll look at what they go through. You'll see them getting shot in the street by the IDF. But the minute we talk about us being shot in the street, oh, well, you guys just need to do better. You guys just need to stop doing all the shooting in Chicago. Meanwhile, the police and the IOF are basically one and the same. They're interchangeable. So here's my thing. If you have solidarity with Palestinians, have solidarity with the rest of us too.
But that's the grift, JB, because some of us, like RBN, we were talking about this issue over 2 years ago.
Yes, you were.
Nick interviewed, he had the Palestinian Network on RBN. We've been talking about this for quite some time, actually, way before October 7th. And to be fair, there have been other journalists that have talked about this issue, like Max Blumenthal covered this years ago. He wrote a whole book about it. He was over there in Gaza and stuff like that. Talked about this way before. Abby Martin, same thing. Dan Cohen, same thing. Have been talking about this for years. And then there are those who have just now started to discuss it because, like you said, it is a trending topic and they can make money off of it. But if you can sit there, and I said this about Candace Owens, and I stand firm on this, if you can sit there and you can say, I apologize to Muslim people for the way that I treated you after 9/11, and now that I know more, etc., and what's happening in Gaza to the Palestinian people is a problem. If you can sit there and you can acknowledge that, and you can listen to Norm Finkelstein explain all this to you, and all these other people explain this to you, and you can acknowledge that, but you, as a Black person in this country, you won't acknowledge the oppression and the systemic racism that Black people go through in this country. That is the grift. Because the moment that you choose to do that, you will not be working for the Daily Wire. They will be calling you a liberal and you will be pushed aside. That is the grift. And I call that out to anyone. I do not have any allies and I do not have any alliance with anyone who refuses. If you can acknowledge the oppression of the Palestinian people, but you can't acknowledge the oppression and the systemic racism and the criminal justice system, the corruption in the criminal justice system towards Black people in this country, I ain't got no alliance with you at all, because that is the fucking grift, and people need to wake up and see that.
Yep. And just like what someone said earlier, they quoted basically, an injustice anywhere is an injustice everywhere.
Right.
And identity and class are intertwined, because you look at those statistics and go by identity in regards to the class issue, and guess what? It actually has a difference, meaning that class and identity are connected. So when people say, oh, don't talk about race, guess what? You're basically hamstringing the class issue in regards to how we're treated. You're hamstringing the class issue in regards to indigenous people. You're hamstringing the class issue in regards to Black people. You're hamstringing the argument in regards to LGBTQ people. How many LGBTQ kids are out there that are homeless on the streets because they're LGBTQ? Why? Because of their identity. I've said it before and I'll say it again, right? So that's why it's important to recognize people who, yes, they may have an identity and you may not even agree with it, but guess what? It's still a class issue, baby. That's the way it is. You can't run from it. So if you want to express class solidarity, well, now, as far as Black people, I'm going to share this real quick, because I know that you have to get going. You have a hard stop in a little bit. But here's Angela Davis as well, Palestinians.
Oh, Lord.
Birmingham, Alabama last February, after the Institute had at first rescinded the award due to your support for BDS, boycott, divestment, and sanctions movement, and your support of Palestinians. After outcry, the Institute reversed its decision.
A lot has happened over the last period, including within the context of the Birmingham Civil Rights Institute. They have completely reorganized. They have reorganized their board. They have been involved in conversations with the community. Of course, as you know, the mayor of Birmingham was threatening to withdraw funding from the Institute. There was a generalized uprising in the Black community. And, while at first it was a total shock to me that they offered this award to me and then they rescinded it, I'm realizing now that was an important moment because it encouraged people to think about the meaning of human rights. And why is it that Palestinians could be excluded from the process of working toward human rights? Palestinian activists have long supported Black people's struggle against racism. When I was in jail, solidarity coming from Palestine was a major source of courage for me. In Ferguson, Palestinians were the first to express international solidarity.
Pause it there, JB. Pause it right there. This is the point that myself, Afeni, and others have tried to make when people say Palestinian people never stood with Black people in this country. So we've gotten that criticism too. Okay, so for those that were a part of the George Floyd protests, no, that's not true. And that was the point that Angela Davis just made there.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So this is why we have solidarity with them. And there's so much more. Like, for instance, there was a video about Kwame Ture actually talking about the history of Zionism and how it came about and his solidarity with the Palestinians. Unfortunately, due to the sake of time, I don't have time to get to it, but I do encourage you guys to look at what Kwame Ture also was saying about it. So, and then I had this one video, due to the sake of time, about, because people are touting, oh, Martin Luther King Jr., he was a Zionist, when in fact he was not.
Right. You can still that JB. Yeah.
All right. So I just wanted to be respectful of your time, because, you know, because Sabby is a busy woman.
If you have to go, still, you know, you can still go after me. I just have the hard stop. But if you still want to go out, continue after me and show the video.
Yeah. So I'm gonna share this really quick. This video is 2 minutes long. So, and then we'll get to what you're going to be coming up with. So I think you showed this video before as well. I think that's what's important. You shared this to a while back. So let's go.
MLK embraced Israel. Does BLM embrace Hamas?
Israel has a right to exist.
MLK would be turning over in his grave right now. I wonder what MLK would think. Okay, let's talk about it. It's the summer of 1967, and Martin Luther King Jr. is scheduled to take thousands of African Americans, Black people, to Israel for a tour of the Holy Land. But something catastrophic happens that complicates the entire plan. People love to use MLK to fit whatever agenda they have at the moment. But we don't have to guess where he stands. He speaks for himself. I have the transcript from an interview that MLK did on national TV in 1967 that rarely gets talked about. But first, some context. This trip to Israel was going to be huge. Records indicate that he planned to preach a sermon from the Mount of Olives, the place where Jesus ascended into heaven. He plans to pray with thousands of people at the region's holy sites in Jerusalem and Galilee. This was going to be his Moses moment, taking Black people to the promised land. But the problem is that just a few weeks before, Israel launched a preemptive attack against the pro-Palestine alliance of Egypt, Syria, and Jordan, starting what became known as the Six-Day War, which killed around 800 Israelis and about 18,000 Arabs in less than a week. It also
So in less than a week, 18,000. So it's always been disproportionate.
Yep.
also fundamentally changed the map. Israel expanded its borders, gaining about 4 times the land it had before, capturing Jerusalem and establishing military occupation in the Gaza Strip. Even though the war was over in just 6 days, MLK will cancel his trip. And this war will mark a turning point in King's nuanced position on Israel. Here's the statement. The interviewer asks MLK, should Israel, in your opinion, give back the land she has taken in conflict? And here's part of MLK's response. I think for the ultimate peace and security of the situation, it will probably be necessary for Israel to give up this conquered territory.
Boom.
People like to leave that part out.
Yep. They love to leave that part out. Let's continue just so that people can say, well, you didn't put it in context. All right, let's finish.
Because to hold on to it will only exacerbate the tensions and deepen the bitterness of the Arabs. This moment offers profound insight into what King believed was necessary to achieve peace between Israel and Palestine. King's name and legacy are thrown around carelessly to justify all kinds of things, but in this instance, we don't have to guess what he thought.
There it is.
Yep. And so for anybody that says, oh, he was a Zionist, no, he wasn't.
And a lot of the Zionists on Twitter, like Michael Rappaport and Noah Tishby, have been making that exact same claim that MLK was a Zionist.
Yep. And he wasn't. And sure as hell, Malcolm X wasn't. We all know that. So, Sabs, what you got coming up this evening?
Garland Nixon's going to come on at 8. And then I also have a couple of news stories.
Nice, nice. I cannot wait for that. Be sure to tune in to Sabby Sabs in 62 minutes from now. So be sure to tune in to her channel. Sabs, I'm going to go over the chats and super chats while before I head out. But hey, it was so good to see you, and good to see you on your, after your birthday weekend. And also a huge shout out to Nico House on his new baby. I know.
The baby looks just like baby Nico.
Yes.
Put the baby pictures together.
Yup, is crazy awesome. I was just like, shout out to Nico for the new kid. Oh man. I bet you he's smelling that baby all day, because the new baby smell is just.
I know.
No,
man. I know. He put that picture up of himself as a baby. He was like, looks like I got a twin. I'm like, holy smokes. He looks exactly like your baby picture.
Yup. All right. Sabs, thank you so much. You have yourself a great one.
Peace out, Jaybe.
All right. Bye-bye. All right, everybody. So let's get to the chat. I think this was a great conversation to have, because a lot of times people always wonder, why are there so many Black people that are now expressing their solidarity with Palestine? Because we know what they're going through. It's just like, I'll put it to you just like this. It's just like when you have somebody that's been through an abusive relationship with a significant other, and now they're out of that relationship. They can see the signs of when somebody else is going through an abusive relationship. So they know it, because they've been through it. What makes you think that we don't see those signs too? What makes you think that Nelson Mandela didn't see those signs? Nelson Mandela saw them. We see them. The indigenous people on Turtle Island sees them. Therefore, that means that we know, they're going through what we went through. This is why it's important to have solidarity as Black people with the Palestinian people. And also, this also leads us to have solidarity with other people who are also going through colonialism, imperialism, because guess what? I don't hate to break it to you, but yeah, I hate to break it to you. But what the people are going through in DRC, in Congo, that's also in connection with Israel too. Yeah. So with that being said, it is important to have solidarity with all oppressed groups around the world, because, well, an injustice anywhere is an injustice everywhere. No one is free until we are all free. Go ahead and give the live video a like. That pushes us out into the algorithm. Thank you so very much to everybody for tuning in and also giving us a like as well. Going to head into the chats as well, because, well, that's just the type of person that we are. We want to talk to you. So let's get into it. All right. So let me share my screen really quick. I'm going to do Rockfin first, because I think that's important. Rockfin is, so I don't want to miss out on that. So, Laura Beza, thank you so very much for the tip on Rockfin. She says she never has seen a house party movie, maybe seen pieces of it. I got you. Yeah. Oh my goodness. Thank you so very much. Dave Burt. He says our precincts here in Boston are trained by the IDF. And thank you very much for calling us your favorite people. So nice of you. Appreciate it. Says where Black people live, many places in the U.S. shouldn't be drinking the water, at least not without a filter. Yeah, I get filtered water because I don't trust the water in my neighborhood. Yeah, so thank you so very much. Hempcar shared a couple of links. So, oh, that has an ad block. Oh, well. In fact, I know a way around the ad block. So we'll do that really quick. Yeah, they be giving me they got me effed up with these putting this stuff up. Let me all right. And then you also public health. All right, so thank you for those links. All right. Let me see. Hemcar says FBI created gang wars. Church committee approved. Hemcar also thank you for the for the tip. It says recall the FBI boasted the creating gang wars in South San Diego. The church committee approved. We should all be able to recite the committee's findings about how it's proven that the official record they hacked the media, schools, activist groups, philanthropy, and even religion, as well as creating rifts to stop the rise of the Black Messiah who could unite and electrify the Black community. So yeah, I thought I could only find one quote from MLK supporting Israel years ago. When I search, I wonder in his last days what he thought. That's true. Hemcar also says they like to say MLK would be pro-war of terror too, and that he was a capitalist and a Republican. LOL. Gandhi and Einstein both called out Israel too. Only be the food will of the Arabs can Israel exist. Only be the food. I think he meant fool. They could have offered to buy some land. Also, the Dome of the Rock may not be where the third temple is. Raising the dome, I heard, is an option too, like a multi-layered temple with a mosque atop. Not exactly sure about that, but thank you so very much for the tip on Rockman. Now, going to the rest of the chat. Tiberius Monk says, JB, where's your thought on the snow bunny crisis of 2024? Oh, Tiberius. Oh, Black Queens forever, snow bunnies never. Umar Johnson's a fool. I can't with him. I can't. All right, Unemployed Scholar says Omali Yeshitela was in SNCC. Yeah, I had Omali Yeshitela on my channel as well as Sabby has had him on her channel as well. He is a wealth of information. Yes, Chairman Omali Yeshitela is great. Steve says, JB Font, stay away from my forehead. Never. All right, Media Dream says, Sabby and JB, Jimmy has gone full anti-gay and Black. I'm not going to comment on that. But thank you so much, Media Dreams. Unemployed Scholar says Black in U.S. and domestic colony. Thank you so much for that as well. Sean Miller says JB looking smoother than graphite. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Wild Rose 1 says, well said. Thank you so very much as well. Jack Hemming says, I learned today that Nazareth is another word for floating market. By the way, for everybody who talks about, for all the Zionists, because when we say Jesus was Palestinian, people are like, well, Jesus wasn't Palestinian. He was a Jew. He was a Jew from Judea, right? You know, Palestinian Jews actually exist, right? Palestinian Jews exist. Jesus was a Palestinian Jew from Judea. And where is Judea modern day? Palestine, right? Just letting y'all know. Spotted Salamander says, James, we need to have an indigenous solidarity with others because all of these struggles are indigenous people struggles, and Haiti is the perfect example of this and the indigenous Black American people. Yes. So what Haiti's going through right now, especially with the imperial core, especially the United States, keeping its grubby little nasty disease-filled hands within their country, trying to take it over, trying to keep a puppet dictator in there like Ariel Henry, is just horrific. And the Haitian people deserve to have their own sovereignty and their own autonomy. And the United States and the West, particularly the United States, Canada, and France, do not want them to have that. And, you know, ultimately, it is really just about them wanting to get to the resources. People are also considered resources, by the way, so they also want that cheap labor too. It's basically a repeat of what they're trying to do, is subjugate the Haitian people under, if it's not chattel slavery, it's wage slavery. That's basically what they're trying to do. It's similar to what's going on in Congo. You know, it's the same thing. But yes, I agree. Peace Dove, Silas sanctions Zionist IDF. Absolutely. All right. All right. Oh, you're talking to somebody else. Okay. Joseph says people that live in modern day Israel are European and never live in the territory they currently occupy. You want to know something funny? A lot of Israelis, the rate of skin cancer has actually jumped through the roof in that area of the world because they're not indigenous. Right? Anywho. It's crazy, but yeah. So I'm going to head on out because I gotta get going. I gotta eat. Only thing I had today was a smoothie. But tune into my channel this Saturday. I'll be live at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I will be having on a guest as well because, yeah, I haven't had a guest in a while, and I will be having on Game.film on my channel. So we'll be talking about some news stories and get his transition, his evolution into where he is and how did he get there. So we're going to be talking about that also as well. In addition to and furthermore on my channel, I also read books. Did you guys know that? I also am going to be reading The Continuation of Laziness Does Not Exist by Dr. Devon Price. So thank you so very much for that. Also, by the way, Dr. Devon Price actually commented on my videos. I am so excited and elated that Dr. Devon Price actually came in and was like, hey, this is actually really good. And I'm like, thank you so much, Dr. Price. Okay, I'm also reading Of Water in the Spirit, Ritual Magic in the Initiation in the Life of an African Shaman by Melodoma Patrice Some. I also read this on my channel, so stay tuned for that. And then I'm also reading The Will to Change, Men, Masculinity, and Love by Bell Hooks on my channel as well. If you guys would like to go onto my channel to listen to those readings, I also do readings of that. I read Michael Parenti, George Jackson, Asada Shakur. So you guys can look at that on my channel. Okay, so gotta get going. But thank you so much to everybody. If you guys have not already, you guys can also go get on our mailing list at revolutionaryblackout.substack.com. That gives you guys email notifications whenever we go live or upload clips. So thank you so very much for that. If you guys would like to get in touch with us, you guys can go to info@redblacknetwork.com and visit our website at revolutionaryblackoutnetwork.com for seeing what we're doing on the ground as well. In addition to, and furthermore, I would also like to share that if you would like to donate for our graphics designer, we do Venmo at Revolutionary Blackout or a Cash App at $Mutual Aid Forever. You can also donate to our GoFundMe as well. We also have a GoFundMe as well too. And just to also introduce this as well, while I have you here, we're trying to raise money for the Orlando chapter so that we can give away new toiletries again to our unhoused neighbors. We're trying to do that again. We're trying to raise $1,200. So if you guys would like to, you guys can actually donate via Cash App at $Orlando RBN. Here it is right here. I will also put it in the chat, but we're trying to raise up to $1,200 right now because we're about to hit our rainy season too. And we want to make sure that our unhoused neighbors here in Orlando are protected because they are going through so much, especially in this state, especially the onset of what happened with the city ordinance right now, criminalizing homelessness even further. And so we have that going on too. And we're trying to make sure that they are okay. And so if any of you guys can also contribute to that, it is deeply, deeply appreciated and does not go without major gratitude if you guys are able to do that as well. So I put that in there, the link in the chat, if you guys can donate to that. So thank you so very much for that as well. So that being said, I'm going to head on out because, well, I got to get going. And look, like I always say, water your plants, water yourselves, leave the world better than you found it. Spoke of. If you got them, drink them. If you got them, if you ain't got them, then watch something funny because joy is revolutionary. And also, by the way, make sure that have solidarity with all oppressed groups. Keep talking about Palestine. Don't stop talking, but also start talking about Congo, start talking about Haiti and other oppressed groups that are going through what we're going through too. And with that, you guys have yourself a great day. And oh, by the way, since I'm here, forehead kisses. Yes, Steve. Yes, I gave it to you. That's what I'm here for. Boom. I love you. Have a wonderful night. Stay tuned for Sabby Sabs and Nick at Night at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.